Hello Slicey Dicers, this is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Tuyaknife Envy. As I promised, the full review of this, I bought this silver version with the blue. It is gone, they only made 10 of them. I love it, I've spent a whole lot of time with it. But I said I would do the full review when I got the regular, more production version in my hands, and now I have it. So instead of teasing you with this one that you can't get, I'll show you the one that you can get. And right now, as of about 9 p.m. Eastern time on July 17th, when I'm recording this, they are still available. They only made 100 of these. They only made 10 of the other one. So they are very limited production, but they are out there. You can go to the site right now and get one. I'll make sure to link that down below. Very, very great knife. I've spent a whole lot of time with this one in my pocket in the last week. It's pretty much never left for more than half a day. I really like this knife, but we're gonna show everything with this bronze and green. This is the one that you can actually get. Kind of an interesting color choice, I guess. Me personally, there's a reason why I got the more limited one. I like the bronze. I think the bronze looks really good. Actually, the bronze is pretty classy looking. Not a fan of this tealish, lightish, greenish color. Doesn't blow me away. But a lot of people do seem to like it. A lot of comments I've seen on other people's reviews of this knife and stuff are that, oh, that looks great. So I fully admit I may be in the minority on that. So we won't talk about the color too much more. I know a lot of people do like it. It's just not my thing. That's why I jumped on the other one. But this is a design by Dave Warren, made by Tuyaknife. Dave Warren is the Tuyaknife U.S. representative. Does an amazing job. Him and his wife Rebecca do a great job. Again, I will link to the site down below, and they make some really cool knives, and they are super responsive, super cool couple. Definitely kind of a mom and pop organization, but they do an awesome job, and it gives you a lot of confidence to buy something from China. Tuyaknife's a new company, it's a new label. A lot of us don't know a lot about it, but they really give you the confidence to buy this stuff, and the products they're making are very high quality, and this is a perfect example of that. And as you can see, DW1 Envy. This is number 71 out of 100. DW1 indicates Dave Warren won his first design, and man, he did a really good job on his first one. And Tuyaknife did an excellent job bringing it to fruition. It's a very cool knife. Quality-wise, like I said, it is really great. Aesthetically, I love the look of it in the silver. It's up to you whether you like the bronze and the green. I know a lot of people do, like I said, but it's, as far as just the overall shape and design, I do really like it. Kind of a unique blade. It does have a compound grind, that little upsweep up there. It is kind of a unique blade shape, which at first I thought in pictures I didn't really care for that much, but the more I've handled it and the more I've used it, I've come to appreciate it. But let's do some stats before we get too much farther out of the way. You have an overall length of just under 8 inches. You have a blade length of 3 1/4 inches. The handle width is barely under barely under 0.5 inches. You have a blade thickness of 0.135 inches and an overall weight of 4 ounces. So not a bad EDC size, and that's actually kind of why I wanted one of these, to have a nice titanium frame lock and another sort of EDC size. I have other ones, but it's nice to switch up every now and then. And that was what kind of interested me in it. And the other thing that interested me in it, another stat, is this is only $219 retail. That's not bad at all. Not bad at all. It's for M390 steel, by the way, if I didn't mention that. Full titanium. You know, full titanium frame lock, titanium milled pocket clip, titanium backspacer. The screws are stainless steel, but it's a really high quality materials for just 219 bucks. Not bad at all. Let's do some size comparisons before we go too much farther. First of all, we will do our standards. We will do the Spyderco PM2. A little bit smaller than a PM2, as you can see. We will do the Ontario Rat Model 1. It's a little bit smaller than a Rat Model 1, quite a bit smaller than a Rat Model 1. Your Spyderco Delica. a little bit bigger than a Delica. And lastly, for the standards, I guess we will grab the Kershaw Knockout. About the same length. This is a much taller knife. Now let's compare it to a couple other titanium frame locks. One that is much larger, and what's kind of weird in titanium frame locks, it is kind of hard to find stuff in a more usable EDC size. Most titanium frame locks are pretty big. That seems to be the main focus of the titanium frame lock market. There are, of course, exceptions, but one example would be this: the Riot New Torrent is a much bigger knife. The Riot New Torrent is kind of, and that pretty large for an EDC, but you can EDC it sort of size, and that's what a lot of these really nice Thai frame locks come in at. And one that is more of an EDC size, and one that is very similar in size to this, is the Zero Tolerance 0609. Very, very similar in this. And if this was a higher production, I would probably do a comparison test between these two, because you're looking at, like, I think 240 for one of these, 220 for this. It would be a very good comparison, except for that this is a full production model, and this is, they're only making 100 of them, and who knows how many's left when I'm doing this video. There may only be 4 or 5 left. I have no idea. So it's probably not worth doing a comparison video on, guys, so I'm sorry about that. But all right, let's move on and talk more about the specifics of this. I've already talked a lot about the looks. I talked about the quality. It is excellent quality. Looking at, you know, perfect blade centering. I've got 2 examples here now to compare, so I'm not just looking at one. Both had perfect blade centering. Both have great lockup. The screws are, again I say stainless steel, but pretty good quality. T8 everywhere except for the lock insert. The pivot is not super imaginative, I will say. It's kind of just plain, but I can't really complain about that too much. I like the Tuya logo on this side. They did keep all of the other writing on this side very small and plain. You just have your M390, you have your Tuyaknife up here, but it is still just the generic font that you find on a lot of Chinese knives. You'll see this same font, or lack thereof, used on you know, Bestex and yeah, it's just I don't like that font at all. I just wish it was a different font. I'm gonna keep complaining until they change it. But I like this little fuller here as a nice little visual detail. It is a very well-designed knife. They thought things through. When we get to ergonomics, you'll see this jimping actually serves a purpose. I like how the milling angle matches on the pocket clip to the scales. I didn't notice that on mine at first, but that's pretty cool. Everything that should be rounded off is pretty much rounded off. Everything's nicely chamfered. There's no sharp bits. It's a very, very well-built knife, and well worth the $219 they're asking for absolute certain. And now the blade, again, it's this compound grind. It is a pretty good slicer, though. It's not bad. It's kind of this Tonto-ish compound. You do have not too thick behind the edge here. It's about I think it was 24 thousandths. You're looking more like 25, 26, 27 up here on the Tonto. But it slices pretty well. It did come super sharp out of the box. My silver one did, the one I've actually been using. And this one also has been through the abuse of some YouTubers, and it's still really sharp. It's very, very good. Blade stock, not terribly thick, under 0.14 inches, so it's a fairly decent slicer. It's not a slicing machine or anything like that, but it's pretty good. And you do have a very robust tip for piercing and stuff. I do like that a lot about it. You get that a lot with Tontos, which is kind of cool. It doesn't have like a drop point for piercing like most Tontos do. It's not a drop point, but still it's got that nice robust tip. You can really get into stuff. And I like this tip, as I said in my first impressions video. You can just move your fingers up and pinch grip it, and it becomes a really nice little box cutter. I do find this blade shape infinitely more useful than I expected from the pictures. Ergonomics, I think, is one of the 2 highlights of this knife. I said in my first impressions, and it's just all it's done since the time I've been carrying it is to increase this opinion. Ergonomically, it's outstanding. Like I said, when I first grabbed it in my hand, it reminded me of the Bestech Starfighter, which is ergonomically one of the best titanium frame locks in my recent memory. The more I've carried and the more I've used this, especially for just the efficiency of space, with a you can see there's not a whole lot of leftover handle there. Just the efficiency of space and the how comfortable this is in your hand. It's a really, really, really good design. I will say now, I think it's more comfortable in my hand than the Starfighter was. It's the Starfighter is close-ish, but this I think this is better. I haven't held a Starfighter in a while, but I mean, this is just nice. That nice little upsweep isn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing, but it does really work. It's got the proper amount of jimping on there. There's a little bit of jimping to flip the tab, and it also kind of does help lock your fingers in there. You've got just enough of this milling on the handle to make it not feel super slippery. This milled pocket clip disappears in the palm of my hand more than almost any other milled pocket clip I've ever used. It's just great. This jimping on the back here, as I mentioned earlier, is really good also to help lock you in. You're really locked in on this knife. This is not what you would call a quote-unquote full-size knife. It's kind of a mid-size knife, but man, it locks in like a big, giant, full-size knife. But yet it still fits in your pocket. It's a really, the ergonomics on this are just out of this world. Just very, very, very good. The carry, also pretty good. Not mind-blowingly like, you know, write your congressman awesome, but it does have a mill pocket clip. It's not deep carry. It's just the one bolt, but it sits down in there, so that's fine. It is right hand only. They did make some lefty versions. There may still be some of those out there, I'm not sure. So they did make a few lefty versions, but they were very limited in run. Really, really just it carries really well. It's just the flipper tab isn't particularly obnoxious. Like I said, it's really good for its size. It's not mind-blowingly great. It's just as good as the ZTO 609, which is a very similarly sized knife. So if I was doing a comparison, I'd probably call these a tie as far as carry goes. So that's nothing to complain about. So it carries well. It's not particularly special, but it does carry very well. Now, one place where it does do supremely well, and one place that it's gotten better as I've used it. So mine I've had for a week and carried a lot. This is, as I said, has gone through a couple other YouTubers' hands and suffered their abuse, so it's well broken in. The action on this thing is just so good. It's just fantastic. The action is just really good. This isn't a particularly heavy blade. It's running on ceramic ball bearings, ceramic detent, all those good things. The detent on it is perfect, and it's just great. It's that perfect balance, what like I like to call it. It's completely drop shut, but I wouldn't call it a guillotine. I'm not worried about this thing slapping shut and cutting my fingers like on my old Riot Valhalla or something like that. It's perfect. It's a damn near perfect action. I really, really do like it. It's one of the best actions I've got on any of my knives, and I have knives a lot more expensive than that. This is, I mean, yeah, the new Torrent, is it a little bit better? Yeah, it's probably a little bit better, but it's a whole lot more expensive knife, and it's got a big, heavy blade that helps it out. Where for a blade this size, it's difficult to just get that right, to have it not be a total guillotine, to still have a hard enough detent. And this is Dave Warren's first design, and it's the detent and the action is really, really good. Those are two things that people have a hard time figuring out their first design, and this has it nailed. So can't wait to see whatever the DW2 is. Really, really like the action on this. It's worth it. Worth the $219 just for the action alone. It's really, really great, on par with anything else. So what is my conclusion? I think for $219, yeah, I mean, you could get a ZTO 609 for only, what, 20, 30, 40 bucks more, which is more of a brand that you know. Tuyaknife isn't a brand that you know, but they're doing great things. Dave Warren is really good to deal with, and it's a really cool design, and the ergonomics and the action are out freaking standing. The blade, maybe you just really hate compound grinds and you don't want one, and I get it. I'm not a huge compound grind fan either, but this one works pretty well. Maybe, you know, you don't want the milled pocket clip, whatever. Maybe you hate the color. I can totally understand that. But for Tuyaknife's and Dave Warren's first move into this higher end category with M390 and all this stuff, they did a great job. Just an outstanding knife. My silver one is a keeper. I can't fathom a time when I would sell this. It's just a really good medium size EDC, you know, titanium frame lock flipper, and I love it, and I will be keeping it for a long time. If you really want one of these, again, at the time I'm putting this up, they're still available. So jump on their website. I'm not even going to try and read the URL. It's quite long. Click on the link down below. Go grab you one. And if you want to, you know, tell them you saw it on my channel. But awesome, awesome knife. Go out and grab you one while you still can. I've been Brian. Have a good one.